Yes, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Amanda, for those kind words. I just want to introduce myself really briefly. So my name is Devon White, right? I'm here on behalf of Palmer Scholars, the Scholar Engagement Coordinator. I'm also a Palmer Scholars alumni, right? And also a Lincoln High School graduate, class of 2014, and UW Seattle graduate. So I'm very much a product of the efforts that come out of this group. And I just want to acknowledge that first and foremost. So yeah, just really glad to be here. Let me go ahead and pull my words over. Yeah. So I hope everybody's feeling good. First, I'd like to just say thank you again to this TCSN group for creating space for this kind of acknowledgement today. It happens too often that we let Black History Month just come and go without properly recognizing the significance of our Black leaders, our Black heroes, and our loved ones, right? So before we dive into our agenda items today, I'd like to just take a few moments to acknowledge that today, February 19th, places us in the tail end of Black History Month, right? What is now a widely celebrated time for us to reflect on the achievements of our Black communities around the world, sprouted as an idea from Dr. Sprouted as an idea from Dr. Carter G. Woodson back in 1915. Woodson's work as a historian and author and co-founder of the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History left a significant impact on how we all engage with Black history today. So in February 1926, the establishment of Negro History Week was spurred by Woodson's desire to popularize the history and contributions that researchers and other intellectuals were discovering through their studies of the African diaspora. And prior to then, significant contributions from Black intellects were kept as secrets and dissected from what we accept as American history, right? So it is said that Woodson selected the month of February for this week-long celebration that he had in mind to encompass the already celebrated days of honor for President Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, right? February 12th and 14th, respectively. And so although we don't have enough time today to fully dissect the roots of Black History Month, I will say this: Woodson's vision for Negro History Week was centered around preserving pre-existing traditions, around reflecting on Black history in America, but there was also a motive to extend the current study of Black history beyond the contributions of the two men that I mentioned before. He believed that history, the real history that we must preserve, was made by the people in real time, not just a few tokenized men and women. That said, I encourage everyone listening to evaluate how we typically celebrate during the month of February and how we can honor the contributions of the Black history makers of our time year round, since we all know that Black history extends beyond the shortest month of the year. So as we move through today's agenda items, let us remember the traditions of celebrating those who walked before us, all while we work to empower the next generation to lead the way towards establishing new narratives worth telling. Thank you.
Devon, thank you so much. In case you don't know Devon, I'm going to just brag on you a little bit. Devon is also the chair for the Tacoma Creates Advisory Board for the city of Tacoma, doing wonderful leadership in our community. And so definitely grateful to you for making time to be with us today and for all that you do every day for the youth in Tacoma.
Yes. Thank you. Like I said, I'm very much a product of the hard work that comes out of this group, and anytime, that's all I could say. So thank you all for the kind words.
So we are going to transition now, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the student voice research project. And the person who's going to lead that is Dr. Kelly Bay Meyer. She's the primary author of the Student Voice Research Report, and she holds a doctorate in political science from Brown University, and she taught courses in research methods and social justice at Seattle University before serving as the Senior Research and Evaluation Officer at the College Success Foundation. She has been with Degrees of Change for the last 5.5 years, where she serves as the Operations Director and also leads all of the evaluation and research activities for the organization and its collaborative efforts through Tacoma Completes. Dr. Baymeyer.
Thanks so much, Amanda. Good morning, everybody. So wonderful to be here. Great. Well, I feel very privileged to have the opportunity to work with such an insightful collaborative group on this project. This was definitely a team effort, and we worked with a group from the Foundation for Tacoma Students, the Tacoma Community College, University of Washington, Tacoma, and our sincere gratitude goes out to this, particularly this research advisory group that shared their time, expertise, and passion for this work over many months together. I don't think I've ever worked with such a collaborative, truly collaborative group from inception of the project, designing it, all the way through the reporting. So just very grateful to them all and honored to be here. Given how tight our time is this morning with our agenda, we don't have a dedicated time for Q&A. However, please feel free to put any questions that you have into the chat. And my colleague Nalani Linder, who's the director of Tacoma Completes, will answer as many questions as she can within the chat as I'm speaking. And then I'll also take a look and post answers to questions, any remaining questions after the student panel section. So the Tacoma Complete Student Voice Research Project is an applied qualitative research to explore why Tacoma Public Schools graduates leave TCC or UW-T prior to completing their degrees. The report was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Foundation for Tacoma Students, and it's intended to support deeper understanding and programmatic decision-making for systems level changes to increase our completion rates at each institution. In total, we had 56 students participate in in-depth interviews, 23 former TCC students and 33 former UW-T students. The interviews were audio recorded and then coded independently by two researchers, my colleagues Kanwal Youssef, who managed all the student outreach and interviewed all 56 students, and Natisha McNamara, who served as the second coder on all the interviews. So those two did a ton of work on this project. A third researcher, myself, I analyzed the coded data and then actually wrote up the final report. So that's the reason I'm here with you all today. So the primary reasons why students left college prior to completing their degrees were grouped into similar clusters that ended up becoming about 7 meta themes. These 7 meta themes were consistent across both TCC and UW-T campuses. And I'll note here that in the spirit of authentically engaging students and in the decisions that impact their lives, this report is unique in that it does not provide explicit policy recommendations. Instead, the report is intended to provide a common framework and key questions that are intended to guide ongoing policy conversations among students, college staff, and community partners, like we are today. And I think that's one of the very powerful pieces of this whole project is the intention to really have this be a catalyst for ongoing conversation to come to solutions instead of trying to arbitrarily provide policy recommendations within the report. Many students indicated that college was not a good fit for them because they didn't know what they wanted to do for their careers and they didn't have a strong sense of purpose. So this was the first major theme. Several lamented that they didn't take a year off before starting college to understand themselves and their passions. They may have felt a lot of pressure within high school to enroll in college immediately, and thinking that this was the only way they could be successful, and many did so without a clear plan. These findings lead us to ask, how can we better support students who do not have a clear career path in mind? And what else can we do to strengthen students' sense of belonging on campus? The next theme that emerged in the research was around financial and basic needs. So in total, 3/4 of interviewees mentioned financial struggles as influencing their decision to leave TCC or UW-T. Those who consider finances as the most important reason offer a combination of one. Several students mentioned stopping out to take care of family members financially, physically, or emotionally, to get married or divorced, to mourn the loss of a family member or welcome a new baby, or relocating out of state. These findings lead us to ask what additional supports are possible for students who are caring for family members or experiencing other major life events. The fourth theme was around mental health. Many students describe facing mental health challenges while in college. Those who left primarily for mental health reasons include those who are suffering from depression, anxiety, and addiction. Social anxiety also emerged as a sub-theme, with several students describing a debilitating anxiety they experienced while attempting to navigate college for the first time. These findings lead us to ask, how can we better support students' mental health preemptively, as well as better care for those who are suffering from acute mental health needs? Our fifth theme was around physical health. Those who attribute withdrawing or not re-enrolling due to physical health conditions range from pregnancy, car accidents, cancer, narcolepsy, and short-term illnesses. And these findings lead us to ask, how can students who are experiencing physical health challenges be better supported? Our sixth theme was around their classroom experience. So there were some students who described negative classroom experiences that primarily caused them to stop out or transfer. These students felt discriminated against after expressing their political views or questioning their instructors' arguments. These findings lead us to ask, how can we ensure that students can express their political views or question their instructors' arguments without fear of discrimination or retaliation? And our final theme is around college navigation. So there were several students who described challenges navigating college, particularly as first-generation college students, from not knowing what classes to take, struggling to use the course registration system to add or drop classes, challenges finding courses or meeting times with their academic advisors that met their work schedules, obstacles with financial aid, and frustration finding a place to park their car. It was interesting how much the parking issue came up. These findings lead us to ask, how can we ensure that students are able to successfully navigate college systems? In conclusion, these findings and key questions suggest that while colleges certainly have a major role to play in student persistence and completion, the reasons why students leave often go beyond what a college could reasonably offer on its own. It suggests that advocacy efforts are needed to change federal, state, and local laws and policies to address broader systemic failures. It also suggests that collective impact efforts like the Tacoma Completes initiative that bring together school districts, colleges, and government agencies, private companies, and community-based organizations are needed to coordinate resources and address student needs as a community. And this concludes my summary of the Student Voice Research Report. Thank you so much.
So much, Kelly. We are so glad that you are here participating with us today. My name is Sharika Fortier. I am one of the new incoming co-chairs for the Tacoma College Support Network, and I will be helping to facilitate us into our student response section, which will be in Fishbowl.
I'm glad to be here. And so a very special welcome to the students who are with us today. I'll let them each introduce themselves. But first, I want to thank them and underscore how important it is for them to be here and to be able to share their reflections with us today. After hearing the presentation about the Student Voice research interviews, we get to now unpack it with the 5 students who weren't part of the research, but can relate to the findings in one way or another because they've traveled down some of the paths and likely know others who have. Our local institutions serve a wide variety of students in age, ability, language, culture, race, interest, and socioeconomic backgrounds. As we hear from them about similarities and differences around their own stories to stay in college or not, hopefully we'll get a sense of how complex and varied student experiences are, and also see where there may be themes between the different stories that point to learning about some things that work and don't work, regardless of difference, to support them achieving their goals. Whatever we hear, we're in for a treat. Please join me in thanking the students for being here with some virtual applause. Before I go ahead and introduce our students, I want to explain how this discussion will look. It'll be in fishbowl format, as Sharika and Rosie said. And this type of panel allows for more discussion between the panelists as opposed to a question and answer format. We will just sit and listen. Well, you guys will just sit and listen as the panelists discuss with each other as if looking into a fishbowl. Your cameras will be off and the chat will be muted. So with that being said, I will have the students introduce themselves. You can say your name and your pronoun if you're comfortable, what your school is, what year you are, and why this topic interests you. So Yasmin, you're sitting right next to me in, in my Zoom. So if you want to go ahead and start.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so like you just said, my name is Yasmin Hamoud. I am a senior at the Milgard School of Business at UW-Tacoma. My pronouns are she and her. I am majoring in general business administration with a passion for business law. So hopefully after graduating, I want to go to law school. This particular topic interests me a lot because, especially during the pandemic, I've realized from personal experience and from communicating with other people in my classes that it's been a harder and definitely more difficult experience for everybody, especially because of the lack of motivation, I guess you can say, that comes as a result of, working and going to school from home. So I wanted to kind of just see what kind of efforts are going to be suggested and how we can make a better experience, especially because everything's so different. This project was probably done during the time on campus, but because we shifted to being online and remote, it's going to look a little different in our responses, especially because we have a lot more things to talk about that we've never experienced before. So I'm interested to see how that comes into play. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. We're so glad to have you here. And then our other student panelists, I do want to say that you guys can have your cameras on. So Molly, I do see your cameras on if you want to go next.
Yeah, hi, my name is Molly Kuahara. I'm a student at TCC. This is currently only my second quarter back. I wasn't really sure what this was when I got involved. I was just going to student senate meetings because I wanted to be involved, and reading the report and getting a better understanding of what exactly this is, I realized how much it pertains to me. Out of high school, I went to TCC, and I wasn't able to stay going there as a student due to severe mental health issues and a severe addiction to opiates, which later turned into street drugs. And I tried to balance my addiction while going to school. And I didn't know how to leave the school correctly. And that has had a severe impact on my financials and my grade point average. But I know that higher education is something for me, and I'm very passionate about it. So since this subject hits home for me, and I have numerous friends who have had similar issues, I want to say that, like, reading it, what the report, that there was something new and interesting to me, but all those stories I've heard before, and I've heard them multiple other times. Yeah, and that's about it for me.
Thank you so much, Molly, and thank you for sharing that with us. So Nick, if you want to go again, your name, your pronoun, your school and year, and why this topic interests you.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Nick Brooks, and I attend the University of Washington, Tacoma, and I'm a senior. I'm a double major, urban studies and political science, and I'm a double minor. I just kind of like school. I'm retired Air Force, so I served for 21 years. And the reason that I'm interested in participating today is because reading the report, and while I may not have dropped out per se, I'm actually still in school. I did take an unconventional path to higher education. And for me, it's working. If I could go back and do some things different, maybe I would. And the fact that maybe I would do some things different motivates me to share my path with others. And I'm from Tacoma. I'm from the Hilltop. I'm a little bit older than the average student that I encounter. And I embody somewhat of a credible messenger for them when I tell them, hey, I kind of came from the bottom, you can do it too. And when they look at me, they can relate to what I'm saying, I think a little bit better than maybe other faces in the crowd. So that's why I'm interested in participating today.
Thank you so much. Again, we're so glad to have you here, and your path is important, and I'm excited to have everyone hear about it. James, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Okay, my name is James Kofi, he, him. I attended school at Tacoma Community College. And this topic interests me because I've had interesting experiences at TCC. I first came to TCC to try to study computers and how to get involved with the modern technology because I'm an older guy. And until about Christmas of this year, I had never even sent a text message in my life. And my experience at TCC has been very difficult because there have been a lot of issues that have beyond my control. Things like the issue with Tacoma Community College Canvas system to take classes has been very difficult. And the way the courses are presented, I'm afraid to say that some of the professors are not comfortable using the system itself. So it's created a lot of major issues. And so that's why I've left school because I just couldn't keep up with the technology issues. You realize that I have my face mask on right now because the reason I'm doing that is because somebody is sitting beside me, trying to help me to navigate the system. And this is the first time that I'm doing anything on video, so I don't know how to operate the system. So that's what things are. But for a background, I am an older adult and I've been to college. Actually, I have some master's degrees in economics and international affairs. I used to work with the World Bank, some high level stuff. And so I don't know whether the school can help me, overcome my technological issues. And so I'm interested in, the theme that I'm really come under is the one with classroom experience and technology issues. Thank you very much. I hope I made sense. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. I'm so excited to be able to dive in a little bit more with that with our first question. So last but not least, we have Rick.
Good morning. My name is Rick Souza. I'm a student at UWT, junior, getting ready to be accepted into Milgard. But I also work as a work study student in the TCC Veterans Office over there. This is my fourth attempt at college. And like Nick, I'm a military veteran. And really, I'm excited to be here just to see how I can help our student veterans at TCC continue and pursue their education because it's been a rough road for me and I want to help people with their smoother transition.
Thank you all. So the first question I have, you all had a chance to read through the report summary and saw the presentation just now. In what ways do the results relate to your own experiences, which I've heard, you already kind of started to dive into that. And in what ways do they relate to what you hear from other students? So again, I'm just opening it up for you guys to discuss together.
Well, I guess I'll go first. Like I just mentioned, this is my fourth attempt at college. The first time it wasn't a right program for me. I was a philosophy major and that just absolutely sucked. The second try, I was in the military, trying to go to school, and then I deployed to Afghanistan. So it's very hard to do college while I'm out there. My fourth attempt a few years ago, actually, I did a quarter at TCC, and then because of family issues, and my ex-wife's schedule at the time. It was just not conducive. But what led me to come back and actually just dig my feet in and finally get this degree, and actually it's pushing me to be successful this time around, is I'm recently divorced, so I'm really here as a point to improve my life and get started on a career. But B, it's to just prove to my kids, because I've got 4 kids, school age kids, that hey, even though crap happens and life gets miserable sometimes, you can still come out at the other end bigger and better than you were when you went in.
Yeah, Rick, I don't want to over militarize this conversation, but being a fellow brother in arms, when I retired from the military, I came back. I left South Carolina, came back to Tacoma because this is where I'm from, and I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and so I figured I was fortunate to have GI Bill benefits, so schools essentially paid for. And I started at Pierce, and I had already piecemealed an associate degree together while I was active duty. And I kind of regret not taking advantage of all the educational benefits available to military people when they are in active duty. But I got back, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I went to Pierce, and that worked out. And when I finished there and I came to UW, I'd always dreamed of being a Husky as a kid growing up. I actually encountered a person at the VA office that was military, and they were working on their degree, and their encouragement showed me that I can do it. And so it's not like I was coming back to school, because I never started when I left for the military. I left at 19, but I didn't, when I was here in Tacoma, when I was a teenager, I didn't think college was for me. I didn't think it fit for me. I didn't know, and I was scared. I didn't come from financial means background. And so all of those things coupled together, I didn't think that I had room for failure. So that's part of why I joined the Air Force, not to mention that Tacoma was real rough back in the 80s and 90s. So that's why I joined the military and left. But when I got back, seeing other people that, when I say look like me, yeah, that could be Black, or that could be someone with a military background, saying, I'm doing this, you can do this. It's not really, it may be more difficult in your mind, but in actuality, it's really not that difficult. So that started me, and I'm glad that that's a decision that I chose to make. So I can definitely relate to what you're saying.
I mean, at risk, not to over militarize this, but I see Nick, I see that story every day when I work at the TCC Veterans Office. I see veterans coming in. They don't know what they want to do when they grow up, and there's a lot of them are scared about the uncertainty that college provides. And I see that not just in our veteran community, but in the greater school community as a whole. From my previous experiences, they don't know what to expect when they come to school, especially. And I think Yasmin mentioned this, especially with the COVID and virtual learning. That's what scares most of our veterans right now, is how do I do this online?
Yeah, thanks, Rick, for getting into that. So there's definitely this element of uncertainty, especially during this time for veterans and students in general. And I can relate to that on a personal level, because I never thought, that I would take a year off. I've always been somebody who said, just get it done. But I decided that before I go to law school, I want to take a year off. And that decision was made, and I don't want to say in a forceful way, but it was just because a lot of things were contributing to, like that lack of motivation. And, it's hard because a lot of us are working or interning, or, doing something from home along with going to school. So it's a lecture at school from the same desk, staring at the same wall. It's studying after your lecture. It's going to work. It's a lot. And it's really hard to know, is this going to be the new normal? And how long is this going to last? And there's just that element of uncertainty that kind of diminishes your spark in a sense. You know, when you started your journey, I'm sure you were like, this is it, I can't wait. Every day, the reason that you are so driven to keep on pushing harder is because you see that light at the end of the tunnel. You see that, you know, for me, I'm ready to be that lawyer. I can't wait. But it's like, is that dream just getting farther and farther away? And how do I get reassured that it's still something that I can obtain even during such a harder time?
You're absolutely right. Because I mean, if you see, I'm looking at the same corner that I sit at every 5 days a week, sometimes 6 because I have weekend studies. But when quarantine hit, really last year, literally, I dropped out of all of my classes last spring because I just couldn't take it. Like my mental health took a big hit. So from April, it took me until June to really get my head right and get my feet back on the ground for this. And it's really hard. I hear what you're saying, because there are days when I don't even want to get out of bed because I don't want to walk across the hall to the same desk I sit at every day because I need a change of view. And for me personally, like moving forward from that, the gym and working on my physical fitness has really been a huge benefit for me. There's a gym 200 yards from my apartment, and I walk there, and that's sometimes the only human interaction I get every day. But for me, that has really been a big help, pushing through the issues and the struggles that we see right now.
This is really great conversation. We are on a really tight time limit, and I do want to allow some conversation for Molly and James. We can spend about 3 more minutes on this question before I move into the next question. And I really hate to cut you guys off because you're having great conversation, but I do want to allow for conversation from everyone. So at about 9:11, I will cut into the next question, but James and Molly, if you have anything to contribute as well.
I pretty much voiced how I related to it. And like I said, I know everybody, or all of those aspects that were listed, I know at least one friend or colleague who has been through that same thing. Just like Rick and Yasmin were bringing up, I think that probably more than even accounted for, mental health is an aspect. That's because whenever you leave school, there's a sense of guilt that comes to play. It's just what society puts on us. If we enroll in school, we should finish it. And I think we're just coming to terms with mental health, and that mental health can be something that all students can suffer with, even if they're not clinically diagnosed. So yeah, like I said, I know that it was a lower percentage, but literally all the reasons that I read on there is, if not upfront, there's an underlying sense of mental health there. And I don't know. I just think that if students are failing their classes, or about to withdraw, or yeah, pretty much those two things, I think that there should be, the teacher should send out a resource, or like there should be a designated email that goes out to those people. And that could be a position at TCC just to check in with those people. It was just also interesting that like all the people who said that they were in mental health were seeing therapists. So it goes above and beyond just, you know, seeing a therapist and talking it out for a minute. Anyways, sorry for taking that much time.
No, that's okay. I know, James, do you have anything you want to say about what related to your own experience, or?
Yeah, the question for me is, do I want to go back to TCC and finish the program that I started? I'm in international logistics and supply chain management. I have taken about 6 classes I have to finish. I've done 4 of them, and I only have 2 more. So I just have to gather the enthusiasm to go back and finish what I learned. What I did not know yesterday has become obsolete today. And what scares me in my education is that what I'm learning today will become obsolete tomorrow. Then what do I do? So we are caught in this web of you learn something and after you learn it, it's out of date. So these young white boys from Harvard, they sat around and played in their rooms and then put us on this mail, and now we don't know where to stop. So I like TCC. I like the spirit of the college, and I want. I've participated in a lot of sporting activities like soccer, volleyball, basketball, and but the main thing that I want to end up with is the facility to help people like me are not there. The professors are not comfortable. The professors who are successful don't use Canvas. Okay, they have their own system. Canvas is just messing up and screwing up people a lot. So the school better get it together. And then finally, I want a shout out to Nora Price. She is a lady. She was the spirit of the campus, and then she passed on. So in a way, I'm giving this to Nora. I love you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, James. Thank you, all of you, for everything you've shared with us. My next question is, this and other events are happening to help people who work at the institutions and in community center student voice as they think about ways to support students. Of the 7 meta themes that came out of the report, which ones do you believe are the most important to work on and why?
I guess I'll start. I think, well, to start, they are equally important. But one that does stand out to me, just from personal experience, is the financial theme. So I always like to use this metaphor that, let's say, you know, in order to qualify for aid, you must have 4 loaves of bread, right? You must have 4 loaves of bread coming in, and that's what's going to be used to support your family. Totally understandable. So let's say you have 10 loaves of bread coming in, then you don't qualify for aid, right? But what sometimes I feel like they don't factor in is how many people are you splitting these loaves of bread amongst? You know what I mean? So kind of from my personal situation, I do not qualify for financial aid, but I do have 6 members in my household, and 2 of them are full-time university students. So although, again, I do not qualify for aid, it's still a big reason why university has been just difficult all around. And another reason why, you know, I can't just jump into law school after, you know, such a hard economic time, especially after the pandemic. It's, I feel like the resources are not being given to everybody that needs it because they're not asking the right questions. You know, like I said, even if I have 10 loaves of bread and I'm splitting among 6 people, that's only 1 loaf of bread and some leftover. It's not, I don't want to use the word fair, but it's just not fair in a sense because, again, they're not asking the right questions. Because now in my household, there's double the tuition. It's a full-time student plus another full-time student. So it's been difficult, and I wish that they would dive deeper and show that, hey, we actually want to make sure that everybody that needs aid gets aid, even if by law they're not somebody that it applies to in a sense. But that's just always been something that's just bothered me, just in the back of my head.
I like that metaphor. It was it was clear and simple, and yeah, I think that like all of us can relate to it. Finances is one of the biggest reasons that I hear, and it makes sense because college in America is one of the most expensive things and increasingly growing compared to other things. I know, I'm assuming that you guys as a committee like can't really do anything. That's why I feel like I'm almost wasting my breath saying something, because like you can't change how they do FAFSA, and you can't change the way that Yasmin explains you know, how her finances are divided through her family. It's just not laid out like that. And it's just not going to be that clear and simple that a program from Tacoma can make that much changes. What I think that can be beneficial is, in the report, it was mainly people who were under the age of, I forget if it's either 26 or 25. So that means that you still fall under your parents' financial, you know, their tax bracket. And I don't know if there was an orientation or a brochure or just an explanation to that group of people, explaining extra scholarships or other ways that they can have financial aid during that time in their life. Because all of the people who left because of finances were seemingly affected by their parents' finances. And I know that that's kind of a privileged thing, but a lot of those people who leave college because they can't afford it in their early 20s, they don't come back, or they feel too old to come back.
Yeah, so finances, I agree, is a huge thing, but I want to talk about the classroom experience, because as an older student coming in, it was interesting being in a classroom with 17, 18-year-old kids, and they're my peers all of a sudden when I led them. But with COVID right now, the classroom experience, and I hear this all the time working with our other student veterans, like, how do we navigate Canvas? How does Canvas even work? I've sat on Zoom for hours helping, okay, this is where you go for these things with your Canvas. This is how you register for classes. Registering for classes is a pain in the hindquarters as well. But one thing I did like about UW-T, because winter's my first quarter there, is that they did have that orientation. So Molly and I do remember them talking about scholarships and things like that and financial aid in that orientation at UW-T. But I know they, unless it's changed, they don't do that at TCC. So that might be something worth pursuing, that, like you said, that the schools themselves can do and influence.
Yeah, let
Pushing out
me
that
cut in
information.
a little bit. On the issue of Canvas, I had one class where asked not to use Canvas, not to go on Canvas. I had 2 classes with this professor and everything was okay. The professors who sent us onto Canvas, you get on there and it confuses you some more. And I am going to school to get comfortable with modern technology, right? And when I do my best, it's not good enough. And I mean, I don't want to go into details about it, but something has to be done. You know, otherwise it creates a big problem that hinders learning. And for those of us who want to come and learn modern technology things, then we get beat up, and so we can't continue. So I hope the school will find more solutions to that. Thank you.
Really quickly, based off of Rick and what James said, like the only orientation that I know of is for the Running Start and the Fresh Start students, where they like clearly explain how to use Canvas and other financial aid and student services, blah, blah, blah. I'm assuming why it's only those groups of people, because they're smaller groups. I haven't seen like incoming student orientation. And I just think that during the Zoom era, like it would be so easy to be able to reach out to whoever wants to do it, even a refresher course. So yeah, orientations, they're probably more beneficial than people think. So
Thank you. And I just, we're almost done, but Nick, I just want, if you had anything else you wanted to contribute, I wanted to give you the space for that.
I did. I wanted to go back to the financial aspect, because in the report, it talks about 3/4 of students identifying finances as a big issue. I personally think there's a huge literacy issue, financial literacy, maybe funding for college literacy that people don't understand. I do volunteer with our Foundation for Tacoma Students, and they talk about stuff like this all the time. People it's like the students or their parents don't know there is a financial windfall of support for people that want higher education, and they don't go pursue it. And it's beyond the subsidized loans or unsubsidized loans. It's beyond the grants. It's lies in the scholarships. All this unclaimed money every year sits out there, and people don't go get it. And that ends. I Googled while we were talking, and it said $3 billion, and most of that was just in the forms of Pell Grants alone. $3 billion sits out there, not to mention the countless scholarships. And a lot of people don't realize you can get scholarships, and everybody walks around with smartphones in their hands, and the smartphones will give them the answers to about 90% of their questions. And if they want to look for money, they have to be, maybe it just takes holding their hand to show them you can actually get 2 or 3 scholarships. And if they all agree to pay your tuition, they'll all send money to the school. It will create an overage. It'll put some money in your pocket. Maybe you can work, instead of full-time, you can work part-time, 20 hours a week, give more to your studies, and come out at the end not so far in debt, maybe not in debt at all. You'll come out obviously with your education, with your connections, you get some internships in there. There's, for some reason lately, I've been using the phrase, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And to me, that embodies that you don't have to go to school, go to a big 4-year school, take on $30,000, $40,000 worth of debt a year. You can go to a smaller school. You can get 5 scholarships, 6 scholarships, and 2 grants, and so on and so forth. And you can actually turn, I don't know if this is wrong, but you can make it to where school makes money for you. So that way you're not struggling so much. Everybody just locks into the grant, to the one grant. There are tons of scholarships for every category. If you're small, there's one for shorter people. If you're tall, there's one for giants. If you're black, there's one for black people. If you're white, there's one for white people. If you're gay or straight, there's everybody. There are all these scholarships that are set aside for people. If you're from Tacoma, if you're from the east side of Tacoma or the hilltop of Tacoma, if you went to Stadium, hope one day to start. I'm a Stadium high school grad, go Tigers. I hope one day to start a scholarship for Stadium high school grads, particularly from 98405 zip code, because that's where I grew up. And I know it's a little bit harder there. It's being gentrified, but it's a little bit harder there. So there are targeted scholarships for every group, and people have to go get that money because it's there for you. When a lot of people are having financial struggles, it's because they're not going and getting the money that's set aside for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you for that. I had this whole exit thing planned to say, but really I'm going to go completely off script and just say that really everything you guys just said was so valuable. I didn't really expect to be so moved by what you guys said. Every single one of you. I started in my education social work experience at Graduate Tacoma, speaking on a panel a couple of years ago, and it's really an honor to be able to come back and help facilitate having more young people, more young students, across the board, adult students, really share your experiences. And a lot of us that work on this committee, we're not in direct services anymore, and it's really easy to forget what it's like, what our actual students are experiencing. And so everything you have said is so valuable, and this is helping to keep us honest. And I just really hope to continue to be able to work with you all in the future. And I really am so appreciative, and I know I speak on behalf of everyone on this committee that we're really thankful for everything you guys said and for taking the time to be here. And I just wish you the best in your future endeavors, and hope you have a great rest of your day, and hope you stay and hang out.